In the Sterling household, silence is a rule. My father calls it decorum. My mother calls it grace. To me it feels like a cage. For 3 weeks the only sounds in this library have been the ticking of the clock and the steady breathing of the man sitting 6 feet away. His name is Joshua. He is not like the suitors who call on Sundays. His hands are broad, his knuckles stained with indigo ink and leather glue. He was hired to mend the books my grandfather neglected, to stitch together the past while I sit in the window nook, pretending to work on an embroidery sampler I care nothing about. Joshua never looks at me directly, but I feel him. There is a heat that radiates across the floorboards. It is the tension of 2 souls forbidden from speaking, yet hyper-aware of every movement the other makes. Yesterday, the silence became too much. While he was across the room, I took my charcoal pencil. In the margins of the family's shared journal, the Commonplace Book, I sketched a single white rose. I drew it wilting. I didn't sign my name. I didn't have to. When Joshua left for the evening, he paused at the pedestal. His thumb lingered on the leather cover. He bowed, a stiff, professional gesture, and vanished. The moment the doors clicked shut, I hurried to the book. There, beneath my wilting rose, he had written a single line in a bold, steady hand. A rose does not wilt for lack of beauty, Miss Naomi. It wilts because the soil is too small for its roots. He hadn't just looked at my drawing. He had read my mind. For the next week, our world existed only in the margins. We sat in the same room, pretending to be strangers, while our hearts lived on the page. I asked him through the ink, "And if the roots are trapped by stone, Mr. Joshua? What then?" He didn't answer with words at first. He answered with a map. He sketched the south garden of the estate, a place where the stone walls had crumbled. At the bottom, he wrote, "Stone can be broken, Miss Naomi, but only by those willing to risk the fall." The library began to feel like a bubble. Outside, the world was bustling and loud, but inside, time had stalled. We were building a sanctuary out of ink and paper. Every day I felt the diamond of my social standing cracking. I didn't want to be a treasure in a display case. I wanted to be the dirt on his hands. I wanted to be real. The day the rain began, the bubble finally reached its limit. My chaperone was late, and the library felt smaller than ever. Joshua was standing by the tall windows. The light caught the stray threads of his waistcoat, making him look like he belonged to the house, and yet was entirely separate from it. I stood up. My silk skirts hissed against the floorboards as I walked toward him. I stopped exactly 2 feet away. I could smell the cedar wood on his skin. "The south garden is beautiful this time of year," I said. My voice sounded strange, unused, cracking the silence of 3 weeks. Joshua turned. His eyes weren't the eyes of a servant. They were dark, piercing, and full of a quiet rebellion. "The garden is a ruin, Miss Naomi," he whispered. "It's full of shadows and broken things." "I've spent my whole life in a house that is perfectly polished," I replied. "I think I might prefer the ruin." He reached out. It was a slow, careful movement. His ink-stained thumb brushed the pulse point at my wrist. "If you step into the ruin with me," he said, "the world won't see the diamond anymore. They'll just see a girl with ink on her heart." "Let them look," I whispered. Part 4. The Restoration. the sweet ending. I expected him to ask me to run. I expected a life of shadows. But Joshua was a restorer. He didn't just hide things, he made them new. He took my hand and led me toward the light of the window. He pulled a small official parchment from his pocket. It was a commission from the National Archives. "I am no longer just a wandering tradesman, Naomi," he said, his voice steady and sure. "I have spent these weeks proving my worth to the guild. This commission gives me a name. It gives me a standing." He looked at me, and the forbidden shadow was gone. "I won't ask you to live in a ruin. I will go to your father. I will show him that I can provide a life where you are finally allowed to breathe. I will ask for your hand, not as a secret, but as a man who has earned the right to stand beside you." The bubble didn't burst. It expanded. I realized then that we didn't have to break the stone walls of our lives. We had grown through the cracks until the walls couldn't hold us anymore. "Then let us go together," I said. We walked toward the heavy oak doors, not as a lady and a servant, but as two people who had written their own story. The silence was finally gone, and in its place, for the first time in my life, there was a song.